Welcome back into the studio. So I am working in my tall and thin. I haven't worked in this one in quite a while. I have a burlap page on the left and it looks like watercolor paper on the right, and I went ahead and taped down the seam just to help prevent a little bit of seepage going into the other side. And I'm just putting in some underpaper to keep it off the rest of what's remaining of this art journal. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with some gesso and kind of see where that takes us. I thought maybe I'd work with some tissue paper and some textures and kind of go from there and see what we get from there. Okay. And this is my Studio 71 gesso in my squeeze tube. And these are my favorite brushes for putting down gesso and gel medium, or just basically any mediums really. They've taken quite a brunt. I only have 2 of them, but they're nearly like solid caked and they're very stained. And so I have been looking all over to replace them, and I cannot get this brush as a single. You can only buy it. It's a Studio 71 brush. It's a nylon, and it only comes in, I think, a 7-pack, which I do sell in my Etsy store. But I just need it as a single, not as a whole pack. So I did find a Princeton Select that seemed similar. I ordered 3 of them hoping that they were similar. So when I get those in, I'll share that with you, how they are. My goodness, Destructo here. And you know me, I'm kind of sloppy with my gesso because I like areas to pop through that don't have gesso on them. Little surprises along the way. So, gonna get this down, let it dry, and then I have some chipboard pieces. That's all I know that I'm gonna start off with. I have some chipboard pieces and some tissue, and that's really where I'm gonna start. Other than that, I don't know. Let's see where it takes us.
Kathleen said she had some things of mine.
Now I've got that gesso good and dry, I am going to apply my chipboard pieces with some Liquitex gel medium in matte. And these are just some leftover pieces, leaf-like shapes, and some puzzle pieces. And I'm not afraid to get those really saturated with that gel medium because I know I'm going to be putting tissue paper over it. So this first tissue paper is from a pattern piece, and you'll see I'm going to be using a lot of different types of tissue. I like to scrunch it around and kind of poke it into all the crevices when I get all the nice texture to appear. And I'm going to do a lot of layering.
It's the guys I used to hang She told me she had met a friend of mine, and Tommy was the best thing that ever happened. No, 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 no. All the colors are long gone. All the colors are long gone. Kathleen said she had some things of mine, a chair, a book, and a little gray piece of paper. She thought it was a poem I wrote that never made the news. Nah, 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 nah. All the colors are long gone.
One of the things you're going to notice is when you layer the tissue like this, you're going to get some really nice translucency happening. And I am purposely changing out from the pattern tissue to a white tissue to tissue that has text on it or images on it. This also helps for you to see that translucency, which I just adore. It's one of my favorite methods of adding texture. And that heavy brown one is actually not tissue paper. It is a used natural coffee filter. But I love the edges on those. So I did include it in here. And once I get done applying the last of this tissue, I am going to come in with my first color. And that is going to be the Hooker's Green in the Studio 71 acrylic paint colors. It's one that I do carry in my Etsy store. And the reason I went with a dark color at the base is because this type of texture I've discovered looks really nice if you have a dark color in the bottom and then you come in with a lighter color or even some dry brushing with a white gesso. And so that's what you're going to see me coming in and doing. I'm going to play a little bit with color here. And then get that nice and dry. I think I actually had gotten through with drying some of it and chose not to get it too dry because I wanted to end up adding this Marabou Aquamarine art spray, and I wanted to massage that in a little bit with that Hooker's Green, so I didn't dry it completely. And once I get this dry, I kind of really went off into a tangent I didn't dream that I would be going into. And you'll see that I'm going to kind of fall into some, rather than the greens, I'm going to take it back towards blue. So that does happen in here. So now you're going to see me pull out my white gesso. And like I talked about before, I am going to do some not such dry brushing with my finger. I was a little heavy-handed with that gesso. but really liked where it was heading. And so by doing that, you can really start to catch the dimensionality of the chipboard pieces, and it really highlights all those lovely textures. And so you're going to see me apply that. And I actually will go back in with gesso a few times in here and bring back some neutral and some highlights. And once I have that dry, I am going to come in with the Faber-Castell water soluble. This is it's called a Magnus pencil, and it is water soluble, and I'm gonna go in with that. I'm actually dipping it into water and applying that with my left non-dominant hand. And then I'm spraying it with my Wow mister. This water mister is awesome. It is definitely a mister and not a spray bottle. And it catches on that water soluble pencil and lets it kind of drip and reach out and into all the crevices of texture. And it really helps put some low lights in those and accentuate them. So you're going to just see me play with that pencil and do some highlight or some shadow effects around the edges and borders.
All the colors are long gone. Kathleen said she had some things of mine. A chair, a book, and a little gray piece of paper. She thought it was a poem I wrote that never made the news. Nah, 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 nah. All the colors are long gone. She told me she had met a friend of mine, and Tommy was the best thing that ever happened. Guess the guys I used to hang with are all growing up now too. Nah, 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 nah. All the colors are long gone. All the colors are long gone. Nah, 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 nah. Kathleen said she had some things of mine. A chair, a book.
So you're going to see I'm going to do something I don't usually do, and I'm going to use my own handwriting in here. And when I made that transition in color, I really found myself doing something more therapeutic than anything else. I recently lost my uncle, and it was a pretty big loss to our family. And this, in essence, in some way or another, was more therapeutic for me than anything. And this thought, these words just came to me, and I decided to just put them down right here. And so I go in with some Posca pens and a Pebeo pen and did just that and just put it right here on this page. And normally I would have probably excluded that, the actual putting of the words in, but I chose not to. And so that's what I'm going to do, and that'll conclude the work that I do on this 2-page spread in my tall and skinny journal. I hope that you have enjoyed this insert of our monthly journal play.
She told me she had met a friend of mine, and Tommy was the best thing that ever happened. Guess the guys I used to hang with are all growing up now too. Nah, 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 nah. All the colors are long gone. All the colors are long gone. Nah, 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 nah. Kathleen said she had some things of mine: a chair, a book, a little gray piece of paper. She told me she had met a friend of mine, and Tommy was the best thing that ever happened. Nah, 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 nah. All the colors are long gone. All the colors are long gone. Kathleen said she had some things of mine: a chair,